Hello, welcome to my podcast, The Journey of a Researcher. I am your host, Dr. Kasturi Banerjee. I have a new member to my family. Her name is Mori. She is a calico cat, so if you hear her purring noises throughout my recording, please enjoy the nice background noise. I want to thank everybody who gave me ratings on Apple iTunes. Thank you. You help in making the podcast known to other people. I also want to thank all my friends and other listeners who gave very important inputs on what I can improve, how I should present my topics. I have realized that with my current work schedule and couple of deadlines coming soon, for the moment I can only record one full episode a month, but to compensate or to answer any questions that you guys might have based on any of the episodes I have recorded till date, I am going to come on Facebook Live, probably either talk about topics that I think is going to be a good buffer and help in transition to the next topic, or if you guys have any Q&A answers, please send it in the messenger of my Facebook page, The Journey of a Researcher. It helps me to plan my next episodes as well as clear out any doubts if any of you have them. With that, today I'm going to talk about a topic that's really close to my heart and I believe needs to be discussed before I dive deep into the rest of the episodes in my podcast. Today, I am going to make a case about why you should become a researcher. So let's talk. I did a Facebook Live couple of weeks ago, and the main question I got that everybody was trying to answer through my live session was why they should become a researcher. And it is a very important question to ask because you are making a career choice. If you have chosen to become a researcher, you need to be sure that that's the right decision that you are taking. I gave a thought and I realized that I needed to do this episode before I go into more details with ways and applications and things you can put on your CV and resume to help you get good research opportunities that's gonna help you build up your career path. So why should you become a researcher? What is that trait? What is that quality that will help you understand whether you are cut out for this field? There should be some indication, something that guides you and tells you this is exactly where your heart lies. So I'm going to start first with that. Okay, how will you know whether research is for you? Anybody who is a researcher or a scientist, they are not some special people, but they have a special quality or trait. That's my take on it. Being a scientist or a researcher requires you to have a certain altruistic trait. What it means is you are choosing to spend your entire life solving a problem that is going to help the society in large. Your selfish motive is to help the society in large, which I think is the basic principle of humanity, but that is your job description. Every drug you discover, every path-breaking scientific invention or innovation you build, every infrastructure you improve, every day you help making the planet livable for all the species living on this earth, that requires a huge altruism in your soul. You live for the people, you work for the people, you enjoy the fact that every single contribution that you are making is going to make this world a better place. And it's not easy. This is not an easy trait or drive to have because we know for one change to bring, there are so many failures you have to deal with. And that's pretty much what research is. For one data that I put in a publication, I have to spend 2 months with failed experiments. I have to go and figure out, where did I make the mistake? Was it the temperature? Was it the reagent? Is my experimental plan wrong? Am I asking the wrong question? Or I am missing something that's present but just too stubborn to accept? This feeling is very common in all of us who are in this field. I am pretty sure all my research colleagues can resonate that the amount of time we have failed to publish or to present that one data set that holds the next key is not an easy challenge to live by every single day. But we do it because we love it. The whole idea that maybe what we are doing today can help people, the planet, anybody change or improve their life, improve the living condition, the health condition, the economic condition. I think it's an incentive that we all love. I mean, who doesn't want to win the Nobel Prize for discovering the cure for cancer or HIV? Who doesn't want to win the Abel Prize for solving the most difficult mathematical equation that probably is going to change the way we build our buildings? Every single day, environmental biologists, ecologists are trying to save this planet because we all want to survive and to be happy and to just make it easy on us, I guess. I'm not saying that other professions don't do that. Doctors, nurses, everybody in the medical field are very important for keeping us alive. But who give them those drugs? Researchers, scientists do. Engineers are very important for building a country, for building the infrastructure. But which building to build in an area that gets affected with storms, or if the earth is strong enough to hold an infrastructure? Geologists, mathematicians, they help make these decisions with the architects and the engineers who are making this huge construction. Just think about solar lighting. So much has improved. Hats off to all the people who are working to clean up the ocean. They are all doing it for us, the humans, the world in general, so that we can live happily one more day on this world. And I'm glad, I feel really humble that I fall in this group, that somehow I have developed this trait through my education throughout the time I have been in this process. I work on developing a treatment for a bacteria that can be really deadly in old people if it gets into their blood. I don't fall into that age category, but the hope that if the treatment works, it can save the life of one person. That's what my drive is. That's what is making me stay in this field, choose this career, be happy with this career. So if you are someone like this person who enjoys, who feels satisfaction in helping anyone, it doesn't have to be a person, it can be anything, your environment, your animals, pets, I don't know. You will understand the core emotion behind becoming a researcher or a scientist. So if what I said right now makes you feel happy and gives you that high that, yeah, maybe that sounds like me, I would like to do that. You have a researcher in you. You have a scientist in you. You just need to explore if that's truly what you want. And as I said in my previous episode, even if you're an engineer or a doctor, you can still become a researcher. So the road is always open. With that, let's dive into another topic that came out to be as a major concern. And the reason being, there is a lot of misinformation. It's about money. How much money does researchers or scientists make? And whatever they make, is that enough to have a family and sustain and survive in the current economic condition? It's a very important question, and I'm going to try my best explaining that anybody who is a scientist or is a researcher is not a broke person. We all pay our bills. We all take care of ourselves. We all are married and have kids, or some of us will have kids eventually. So how do we do that? Because as I believe and I have seen that everybody thinks we don't make that much money compared to other jobs. I have an answer. I hope you like my answer. So let's quickly talk about my personal economic experience of being in this field. Since most of my education was taken care of by the KVPI scholarship, I was never dependent on my parents. My dad still made sure that he pays my tuition fees because he just wanted to do it. It's a dad thing. Don't ask me why. But other than that, all the food, all the travel expenses, my summer internship cost, everything, I paid it off through my fellowship. So I knew for sure that when I will do my PhD, I wanted a stipend. I didn't want to be dependent on my parents, irrespective of whether I did my PhD in India or abroad. The reason why you get a stipend while doing your PhD is because it is kind of a labor. As a PhD student, you're working for the PI on a grant that is trying to solve a specific research question. Because you are working to solve this research question, the grant that you are on, you are going to get paid because you're putting your manual and mental labor into it based on where you are, in the sense which kind of university or institute you're doing your PhD in and which kind of state you're living, city you're living. Your stipend varies. This is true for anywhere in the world. It doesn't matter where you're doing your PhD. I chose to do my PhD in USA because my research experience in ICER Mohali was fantastic. So I wanted to know that is it any different in USA, which is one of the highly scientific producing country. I was very curious and I was like, I wanted to come to USA and see, am I learning less in India? Am I learning at the same level as in India? Or it doesn't really matter. I applied to 15 places. I got yes response from 2 places and I chose UNMC because of where the university was located and what kind of university it was. It was a hospital with a research wing. I always wanted to do a research in a hospital. The reason being, I needed validation that what I am going to do is going to help people in real life. That was my psyche. And I will say that was probably the best decision I could have taken. Because working in a hospital, the whole environment is very different and it's not very easy to explain. I was working on pancreatic cancer and on the other hand, I was meeting patients who were suffering with pancreatic cancer. So the whole experience was very surreal, very, very real. I knew that my work was at an infancy, but one day maybe my work could really help these patients. So I was looking for that experience. I was looking for that connection and I found it. The second reason was the stipend I was getting compared to the city I was going to stay. Omaha was very similar to the city Chandigarh where I stayed for 5 years during my undergrad and master's degree. So it felt very familiar and the cost of living was, let's say, sensible. So when I looked at the stipend I was getting, also I got a full scholarship, right? Plus I was getting free healthcare insurance. So that was the best package I was offered compared to the 2 choices I had. Not that I had a lot, but all you need is the one. So I decided to move to Omaha in 2013. And throughout the year, the stipend I got per month was more than enough for me personally to live. The stipend increased every year based on the inflation, just like any other job salary gets adjusted based on inflation. So even though what I was getting was just a stipend, it was still being adjusted like a salary. Anyway, the entire 5 years I got my stipend. It helped me to pay all my bills, to pay all my utilities, to buy a car, to adopt my cat, and travel and have fun with my friends and show my parents around when they came over. And I think that's pretty comfortable for just a PhD student. After PhD, I gave a hard thought whether I wanted to join an industry or I wanted to do postdoc. I compared the salary slab and I realized that if I did a postdoc and then went either into academics or into the industry, pay scale was much more impressive and I wanted that money. So I am right now doing my postdoc training. The postdoc position is actually a job. That means I pay all the taxes that I am required to pay as anybody who works in USA. I also have a retirement account. I pay partially for my health insurance and everything that, the American citizen pays for through their paycheck. It was definitely an upgrade from what I was getting a stipend, close to 2 to 3 times than what I was making as a PhD student, and I'm still comfortable. And as I said, we adopted another cat, so which means we are still capable of taking responsibilities. Now let's talk about some practical situation. I'm gonna talk about the stipend that PhD student gets in India and compare it with the jobs that usually are compared or put into discussion when you are in science field in India. I believe this kind of similar conversation can happen in other countries and in other families. So just take this as an example rather than a literal translation. As for my Indian friends, here is a situation for you guys. A first-year engineer makes roughly 55,000 rupees pre-tax per month. A first-year medical student, or I will say a doctor, probably what is known as junior doctor, makes again roughly around 56,000 rupees per month pre-taxes. I have taken these national averages from Glassdoor.com as well as from the RTI information in the government page. So I believe the numbers I have are close to the national average. A first-year PhD student, also known as JRF position, if you come through the CSIR or UGC grant, you are going to make roughly around 30,000 per month, post-tax or no tax. If you are in your 3rd, 4th, 5th year, it's going to be close to 35 to 40,000, again, no taxes. If you are exceptionally well and get the President Research Fellowship, you are looking at 70,000 rupees per month in your first 2 years, and I think close to 80 to 90,000 rupees per month in your senior years, if I'm right. Yeah. So the thing is, these numbers sound very nice when you're talking with your neighbors and gossiping relatives, etc. But you have to think the practicality of it. 56,000 rupees pre-tax sounds a lot, but once you deduct the tax and the accommodation fees and the livelihood fees and etc., you end up with a much lesser amount as far as savings goes. Now, India, as we know, is a country who loves to save. We all have our saving account. We love to save money because anything can happen at any time. So with that aspect, you're not saving a lot of money per month, especially if you're living in very expensive places. So what's going to happen with these PhD people who are making less than these other professions? Well, as far as I know, 80% to close to 90% PhD students live in the campus of their institute and eat in the campus, which are subsidized at a pretty cheap rate compared to the cost of living in that city. Secondly, each PhD student gets contingent fund to travel and present their work everywhere. So basically, you're traveling for free, staying for free, presenting for free, your research to the world, because that's how you make the world a better place. Third, I know a lot of institutes have special accommodation for students who have family. I have seen it in ISC Bangalore. I have seen it in some of the IITs. There are provisions. So if you see the entire picture of monthly expenses, cost of living, expenditure, etc., if you do that math, I'm not gonna do that math. I've left economics in my 10th grade. I gave my board exam. I've never touched economics, that book again. But if I do my math right and with my budgeting skills, you are making or you are saving a lot more money as a PhD person. Now, why did I get into so much detail about these numbers? Because this is a real conversation happening every day in lot of families who come from lower income groups or have dependents on them, and they are having this conversation with themselves whether they should pursue this career or not based on the number on the paycheck. On top of that, students are comparing themselves with their engineering buddies and medical buddies and other buddies and trying to figure out, is this enough? Are we in the same social status quo compared to my friend who is earning this much paycheck? Conversations like this, mentality like this is what harms the scientific community, because if people don't support scientists and the research community, they won't be making a noise in your local bodies, in the government, and government won't be allocating the funds required to do this research. We won't get our grants, we won't get our fellowship, we won't get anything. Because it's very easy to say that researchers are just blowing away the money. It's not worth it. Let's just rather invest in something else. Because nobody wants to be a researcher in this country. And it harms the economy because every single patent a researcher makes, every single discovery a researcher makes for a country, the country owns that. And they can make negotiation, they can sell these patents, they can lease this patent, and you bring more money into your own economy. So scientists are not just doing science and discovery, we also help in building the economy of the country. One of the best example is the ISRO space program. The success of the Mars mission of ISRO, where they were able to launch so many satellites up in the orbit, countries like USA, European countries are now taking help of ISRO to launch their satellites into the space. You know who makes money? ISRO does. Do you know where that money goes? To the Indian economy. It is cool to see that there is a movie coming on the Mars mission of India in this year, 2019. I think it's coming on 15th August. If there is no glory in becoming scientist and doing pure science and contributing and creating something in pure science, why are they making a movie on the achievement of Indian scientists? So, boom. There is one more thing we scientists get and are able to keep apart from a paycheck is only exclusive to this field. Not only we get the satisfaction of being able to contribute in the betterment and development of our society and the planet, each and every research paper that we publish or patent that we acquire stays in our name for the entirety of our life as well as after our death. This is the very reason that even today in 2019 we are studying about Newton's laws and Einstein quantum physics equation and Marie Curie's radioactive discoveries, Watson and Crick's DNA structure, etc., etc., etc. This recognition that we achieve through our hard work is way beyond than any other field can contribute. You can definitely make more money if we are talking about paychecks as in other career, but every work that you do, 90% of it is not known by anybody. And that's the part of that career. But all of us, any of us who choose to become a researcher, who does research in any format or in any field, if we publish the paper, even as a bachelor student or master student, as a PhD student, as a researcher, as a summer intern, as a tech, it stays under your name forever. Every single publication that I have published or I am going to publish is going to have my name as an author, and lo behold, 50, 60, 70, I don't know when I'm going to leave this world, it's still going to stay as my work even after I'm gone. And that is amazing to know that I can get recognized even after I'm gone, to know that I am leaving my scientific legacy for the future people who are interested in the same research area that I was. It's iconic. There is no other way to express this feeling. It's iconic. If somehow in my entire lifetime I manage to do some fantastic job that gives me some more recognition, I will be more than elated and blessed. But even if I don't become the big shot, I know for a fact that my work will stay my work and nobody can take that away from me, which is, I think, that extra cherry on top along with the paychecks I am getting and is exclusive to this field. So think about that. But what after PhD? I was looking into the most common career that is usually followed right after PhD, the professorship. And excuse me, I'm going to throw another number just for my listeners' sake. The average salary an assistant professor makes in any government university or institute is close to 1.3 lakh per month. It can be higher based on what institute you're joining, but that's the national average. And if that doesn't satisfy you, I have no idea what will. There is money in this field. You will get money once you actually have the permanent job. PhD is just a training. You have to do PhD. You have to do postdoc to get that job. But once you get the job, it's just like any other permanent job. You have a good paycheck, you have the benefits, you get everything else. Yes, it just takes close to 10 years rather than 4 years. Thank you, Mori, for making all that noise. Make some noise for the scientist. I think that's what she was saying. The third thing that a lot of people were asking me about, and is a very genuine concern, and there are two sides to it. I'm going to first say the good side, and then I'm going to touch about the difficult side. The third question was, what about the work-life balance as a scientist? And it's a fantastic question, because there is this illusion that we scientists spend 24/7 into 365 days of our life sitting in a lab, working, and zero personal life. And that is bogus. The work-life balance of a scientist is as similar as a work-life balance in any other profession. As a PhD student, basically we get 40 hours per week. And when you go into the higher positions, like if you join an industry, if you are a professor, if you become a researcher or anything else, work as a scientist there, all those systems have a work time schedule. You come in at a certain time, you leave the work at a certain time, and you finish everything during those hours when you're working. Whatever you do after those hours is your thing. Grab a couple of drinks with your friends, spend time with your family, spend time with your kids. That's the life. So it's not really very different than any other profession. Yes, there are days, and there have been days, where we have to work for 20 hours. I've had it a couple of times, but it's not every single day. It's probably like once or twice in a month. Or sometimes if there is a very big deadline, like I want to apply for a fellowship, I want to apply for a grant, or our lab is submitting a huge paper, we all have to put some all-nighters to basically submit our stuff. And we all do that. We all know that when there is a project that's very important for the company or for the institution or anything, the team comes together and works hard and get the product out. That's the same thing. In our case, we get papers out, grants out, patents out, our spiel. So it's not like that if you become a scientist, you're going to lose touch from the social life. So if you are a scientist, you get to have both social and a work life. The distribution between the social versus the work life is completely personal. I know people who love to work for 10 hours because they enjoy spending their time in the lab I am personally a person who likes to get everything done within the 8 hours and work specifically overtime on days when I really need to. I worked till 11 p.m. like 2 days ago because I had to get that data, and I was going bonkers because I was not getting the data. I was not forced to stay till 11 p.m. at night. I chose to stay. And that's what it needs to be, and that's what it should be. Now, unfortunately, this understanding is not translated everywhere. There have been cases where the PIs or the mentors have pushed students out of their comfort zone. And those situations are not acceptable anywhere. There are laws established by every university. There is the graduate student handbook, which tells you how much hours you need to work minimum and what's the maximum hour limit a student should give per week. There are channels, there are grievance committees, there are committees that are established to help these students. Yes, of course, there are difficult mentors who can make life feel difficult. But as a student, if you accept it, not even as a student, but as a professional, if you accept any behavior that is demeaning you, that is affecting your mental health, you have the right to say no. You have the right to refuse. You have the right to protest. This is also the part of a healthy work-life relationship, because this power disbalance is not just present in one place. It's present all over the working environment. It doesn't matter which kind of profession you are in. You are always going to have the good side of the field, and you're going to have the ugly side of the field. It's the whole part and parcel of life. How you maneuver yourself through these times is exactly how it's going to affect whether you are successful or not. So to blame this particular field exclusively is wrong. But again, I personally condemn any kind of abuse inflicted on anyone. No student should ever feel like that their love for science is gone. Okay, that was a little heavy, but I had to say it. Unfortunately, this career has this dark side, and if I would have chosen to not talk about it, I would be unfair to all my listeners. But with that, I'm still going to say that this career provides you ample opportunity, both financially, mentally, to have both a career as well as a family life. And if you want inspiration, look around you. Look at the ISRO scientist. Look at the environmental biologist, chemist, physicist trying to clear up the ocean and help with global warming. Read the science section of your local newspaper. You will see that scientists are discovering new things every day to make your life better. And they are written in really simple language. Educate yourself. It's just not the paycheck. It's just not the name. It's just not the status quo. Learn about this career. Each and every scientist, researcher who are working every single day, we do it because we love science. We do it because we want to do something for someone in this world. We have our failures multiple times throughout the day, but one email or one publication or one recognition by someone in this world saying that this could be the next thing, this could probably help some people in some aspect of their life, that makes it for us. We are all doing fine. We might not look like a career that has the financial stability that other careers boast about, but we are a stable career. You have a stable career as a scientist, and I rest my case. I love being a researcher, and if you are someone who has a reason, please give this career an opportunity. Thank you for joining me in this very different conversation. The third episode is going to be again an informative one, back to my old format, and it's going to be on summer internship opportunities, why you should do it, things you learn from it, and things you should keep in mind when choosing your summer internships. And yeah, that will be it for today. Please leave your ratings and reviews on both my Apple iTunes page as well as the Facebook page of the podcast. Every single suggestion matters. I am still learning through this podcast. I hope to become better as we go through the episodes. And that's it. See you until the next time. Bye.